In this video, we will learn how to deploy a workflow model for a process model. But before we begin with Workflow Services REST APIs to deploy a workflow, let us see how to use a workflow modeler to capture the required model content. Let's continue using the same automated management process as an example, which we defined in a previous video. Once the workflow model is ready, we can use the option to export the model and capture the model content. There are two ways we can copy the model content. One is a JSON format, and the other one is an XML format. For the purposes of this demo, let's go ahead with the JSON format option and copy the model content on the clipboard. Once the content is copied, we can now go to the REST APIs to deploy the workflow model. All the Workflow Services APIs work with standard 2.0 authentication mechanisms. The access token required for the Workflow Service APIs can be generated by using the credentials which I have already shared with you. Let's now go ahead and generate an access token required for the Service API. The access token generated here is already linked to the Workflow Service APIs, which I am about to show on this demo. The endpoint process required to deploy a workflow is a call to workflow/v1/runtime/models, and the request body shows only two fields: the model type, which can be either a JSON or an XML, or a model content, which is the actual workflow model content captured from the workflow modeler. In this example, since we are going with the JSON model, the model type can be retained as a JSON, and the model content can be copied from the workflow modeler. Notice that we are using the same model content that was copied from the workflow modeler as the model content in the request. The request is now ready. Let's now go ahead and deploy this workflow. Notice we get the 201 response, which means the workflow has been successfully deployed. We also notice there are some elements returned on the response, such as process definition ID, key, which can be used for subsequent workflow calls. We can also make sure this workflow is kept alive or active by heading a get API workflow/v1/runtime models. We can also use filter parameters such as the name of the process model to confirm the model that we have used has been deployed successfully. We can also see that the get API references the ID for the deployed workflow, which is used on this demo. And that's it. That's how we deploy a workflow. For more information on this and other services, please go to developer.opentext.com.